In Hollywood, there's one secret that no acting class, no Oscar campaign, and no amount of raw talent can teach you. It's not about who's the most gifted. It's about who gets let in. And for over 3 decades, no one has cracked that code more powerfully than Leonardo DiCaprio. His so-called wolf pack, once known by a nickname too explicit for prime time, has become Hollywood's most elite, most whispered about circle. Because when you're pulled into Leo's orbit, your career doesn't just grow, it detonates. One minute you're unknown, the next you're at the Oscars. But is that really coincidence? Or is there something deeper going on that no one dares to admit? Some say it's just loyalty. Others say it's strategy. But behind the yacht parties, behind the meme-worthy dating headlines, there's a pattern so eerily consistent, it's hard to ignore. Careers don't just happen around Leo. They ignite like clockwork. And once you start seeing the signs, you'll wonder how the world missed it for so long. And what you'll uncover by the end of this video might just flip everything you thought you knew about fame, friendship, and power. Before he was pulling strings behind the scenes of Hollywood's elite, Leonardo DiCaprio was just another hungry kid in Los Angeles, with something no one could quite explain. He didn't just chase stardom. He had a strange kind of gravity, a pull that made people orbit him long before he was famous. Even as a teenager, Leo wasn't just forming friendships, he was forming alliances that would quietly bend the arc of Hollywood. Take Tobey Maguire, for example. The story goes that Leo once jumped out of a moving car just to chase him down on the street, just to make him his friend. And it worked. They became inseparable, 2 teenage underdogs grinding through the same auditions, often competing for the exact same roles. But instead of turning into enemies, they did something almost unheard of in that cutthroat world. They joined forces, and from that one bold move, an unseen power structure began to form, one that still runs deeper than most people know. By the late 90s, fame had hit like a tidal wave, and for most friendships, it would have drowned everything. Titanic turned DiCaprio into a global obsession, and Tobey Maguire was quietly rising toward superhero status. The spotlight could have shattered them. Instead, Leo built a wall around his inner circle and guarded it fiercely. He didn't just stay close with Tobey. He made sure Tobey rose with him. Private invites, backroom meetings, the right faces at the right tables. Leo was orchestrating more than a career. He was preserving a bond in an industry that feeds on betrayal. Because for Leo, loyalty wasn't casual. It was currency. The wolf pack wasn't built on clout. It was built on trust. And as the circle grew, the same rule echoed through it. Protect each other, or fall apart. Ride or die. No leaks, no jealousy, no weak links. But the deeper the circle got, the harder it became to stay inside. Because not everyone who entered was meant to last. But not every friend got to bask in the spotlight. As Leo's fame skyrocketed, so did the pressure on everyone around him to keep up. The wolf pack wasn't just about loyalty anymore. It was about staying relevant, being useful, and knowing your place. For those who couldn't match Leo's meteoric rise, the friendship began to feel like a race they weren't invited to run. The circle was still there, but the center was drifting further and further away. Take Lukas Haas. He'd been part of Leo's world since the early days, a steady presence and longtime friend. But while Leo ascended into superstardom, Lukas often found himself left in the background, watching from the sidelines as roles, recognition, and headlines went to others. What made it even harder? Direct competition. Not once, but twice. Leo beat out Lukas for career-defining roles. First in This Boy's Life, and again in What's Eating Gilbert Grape. Most people would have walked away bitter, but not Lukas. Instead of getting jealous, he stuck around. For years, they even lived together, 2 grown men sharing a home in Los Angeles, navigating 2 very different careers. Lukas didn't chase the spotlight, and the spotlight didn't chase him. He never publicly complained, never cashed in on the friendship. He stayed close, loyal, and low-key. Exactly the kind of presence Leo trusted. And Leo noticed. Throughout his career, DiCaprio consistently created opportunities for Lukas, especially when it counted. When Christopher Nolan was casting Inception in 2010, it was Leo's influence that helped secure Lucas a role in what became one of the decade's most acclaimed films. And it didn't stop there. Lucas would later appear alongside Leo again in The Revenant, proving that their professional bond was just as durable as their personal one. When asked about living in Leo's shadow back in 1996, Lucas gave a response that said it all. "We're both very lucky because we make money doing art. Why should I want to be him?" He wasn't angry. He wasn't envious. But the truth was, staying in Leo's orbit came at a cost. Friends of stars often disappear, not in scandal, but in silence. Lucas didn't fade, but he never broke through either. He remained a loyal soldier in Leo's world, present, reliable, and quiet. And while some would have walked away bitter, Lucas held on. But not without sacrifice. Staying in Leo's orbit wasn't about comfort. It was about proving you still belonged. Because even within the most loyal circle in Hollywood, survival wasn't guaranteed. Lukas Haas's loyalty may have been quiet, but others in Leo's circle lived their bond in full view of the spotlight. Sometimes so closely, the lines between fact and fiction blurred. Kevin Connolly, known to most as the guy from Entourage, didn't just play the best friend of a rising Hollywood star. He was living it, side by side with DiCaprio. Their real-life connection ran far deeper than red carpets or exclusive parties. When Connolly's mother passed away in 2009, Leo didn't just send condolences. He showed up, off camera, unnoticed, and carried her casket. No press, no entourage, just a friend showing up when it mattered most. It was a rare, unscripted moment of humanity, one the cameras never caught, but the people close to them never forgot. And yet, the public only saw the wild nights and party snapshots. The tabloids gave them a name, Posse, as if the group was nothing more than a boys' club chasing chaos. But that label was never real. It was a cheap headline pasted over something far more complicated. Because beneath the surface, this wasn't about ego or antics. It was about loyalty, loss, and the kind of friendship most actors only pretend to have on screen. Even today, Connolly is still part of Leo's world. Whether spotted at fancy Italian restaurants in Beverly Hills or seen boarding those infamous yacht trips. On screen, he was managing a chaotic Hollywood life. Off screen, he was living it. For real. But not every friendship started in a nightclub or casting room. Some began in places no one expected. While Kevin Connolly's story blurred fiction and reality, Bradley Cooper's introduction to Leonardo DiCaprio felt like something ripped from a movie. Back in the late 90s, Cooper was just a struggling actor, working the night shift as a doorman in New York. One evening, in walked Leo, fresh off the global explosion of Titanic. They were the same age, but worlds apart. For Cooper, that moment wasn't just surreal. It was sobering. The man he idolized was just 3 feet away, and yet somehow, completely unreachable. Fast forward a decade, and that same doorman was now sharing rooms, red carpets, and exclusive parties with the very person he once watched from a distance. Their friendship isn't a tabloid centerpiece. It's quiet, understated, but powerful. Cooper once said, "I still can't believe I'm friends with him," admitting that being around Leo feels like something rubs off, a kind of unspoken energy, a subtle shift that pushes you to operate at a higher level. Even after his own meteoric rise, from The Hangover to A Star is Born, Cooper never lost that sense of awe. When filming with Robert De Niro, he confessed that a part of him still felt like that doorman outside the velvet rope. That blend of humility and ambition made him the perfect addition to DiCaprio's circle. Someone who didn't just chase the spotlight, but respected the weight of it. And in a twist that perfectly captures Hollywood's strange symmetry, Cooper eventually landed the lead in Nightmare Alley, a role originally meant for DiCaprio himself. That one moment said everything. The student had become the star. But what happened next wasn't about old friends or longtime loyalty. It was about someone completely unexpected, someone who cracked Leo's code and unlocked the biggest transformation of all. Not every transformation in Leo's circle begins with glamour. Some start with humility and a single, unexpected opportunity. After quietly helping reshape Bradley Cooper's career arc, DiCaprio turned his attention to someone no one saw coming: Jonah Hill. Known mostly for outrageous comedies, Jonah was the last guy anyone expected to stand beside DiCaprio in a Scorsese film. But that's the pattern. Leo doesn't chase headlines. He builds legacies. And when he personally pitched Hill for The Wolf of Wall Street, it wasn't a favor. It was a signal. Hill didn't make millions. He accepted SAG minimum just to be part of it. But in return, he was brought behind the curtain. Late-night sessions, producer meetings, private dinners with Scorsese. Leo gave him access, credibility, and a second identity. Not just a comedian, but a contender. Then came the moment that made everything public. During Hill's monologue on SNL, Leo walked out mid-sentence, unscripted, unrehearsed, and embraced him in front of a live audience. It wasn't just funny. It was a message. Jonah Hill wasn't tagging along. He belonged. But what really changed Jonah Hill? It wasn't just the applause or the SNL spotlight. It was what Leo gave him after. Quiet access to power, the kind that rewrites careers in silence. And as Hill's comedy roots faded into prestige roles and red carpets, one question lingered. How many others had Leo quietly transformed? And who might be next? Just when it seemed DiCaprio's power couldn't possibly grow any louder, she walked in. Not with a resume, but with a slap. That's how Margot Robbie introduced herself to Leonardo DiCaprio. And by extension, the entire industry. During her audition for The Wolf of Wall Street, she didn't just read the lines. She redefined them. Off script, full contact, palm to cheek. The room froze. Even Scorsese was stunned. But Leo, he couldn't stop laughing. That one moment didn't just land her the role. It detonated her career. In a flash, Margot Robbie went from talented unknown to global breakout. But what followed wasn't just luck. It was DiCaprio's mentorship engine in full swing. He praised her privately, championed her publicly, and made sure the biggest names in Hollywood were paying attention. And Robbie felt every bit of it. "I'm still pinching myself," Robbie said. "I'm extremely honored to be a part of this film. To work with Leo was unbelievable. He has always been my favorite actor, and he became this wonderful big brother. He took me under his wing and always looked out for me, which is really nice." This wasn't just a co-star dynamic. It was a passing of the torch. With Leo backing her and the world watching, Robbie turned one breakout into a blitzkrieg of stardom. But she didn't stop at fame. She built something bigger. With Lucky Chap Entertainment, she began producing her own films, curating bold, genre-defying stories. I, Tanya, Promising Young Woman, Barbie. Each project proved she wasn't riding Leo's wave. She was creating her own storm. And what made her rise so unstoppable? It wasn't about scandal, headlines, or rumors. It was about control, precision, power. She didn't just climb Hollywood's ladder. She redesigned it. But as Margot soared, Leo's orbit kept pulling in new stars. And one rising name would soon receive advice that could rewrite the entire next generation. By the time Timothée Chalamet rose to fame with Call Me By Your Name, he had already proven his talent. But joining DiCaprio's orbit was a different kind of rite of passage. His initiation didn't come on set or through scandal. It came through a whisper, the kind of advice passed quietly between legends. No hard drugs, no superhero movies. Just 6 words. But in an industry addicted to spectacle and speed, it was a blueprint for longevity and a direct lifeline from Leo himself. While others his age chase franchise contracts and TikTok fame, Chalamet has done the opposite. He's chosen mystery over exposure, prestige over paychecks. From Dune to Wonka, he's walking a tightrope of artistry and box office firepower, echoing DiCaprio's own evolution from teen icon to serious performer. And yet, even now, he refuses to put on the cape, sticking to the quiet wisdom Leo once shared. Critics say Chalamet is becoming the new Leo. But look closer. He's not just becoming Leo. He's evolving the brand. A softer edge, a quieter storm, and beneath the charm and cheekbones is a student of the game, playing for legacy, not noise. But in a town where everyone wants to be seen, those who rise the highest often follow the one man who's mastered the art of staying just out of reach. People love to joke about DiCaprio's so-called 25-year rule. And if you think that rule is just a meme, wait until you see what we uncovered in our full breakdown. The link's below, but fair warning, it might change the way you see Leo forever. Because behind the headlines lies a far more powerful truth, one that's quietly shaped the careers of Hollywood's brightest stars. Every time someone steps into DiCaprio's orbit, their fame doesn't just rise, it detonates. That kind of influence isn't luck. It's loyalty, vision, precision. But that kind of spotlight comes with shadows. For every star Leo lifts up, something gets left behind. The pressure, the silence, the price no one sees. So here's the question. If Leo offered you a seat at the table, would you take it, knowing what it costs? Drop your thoughts below, because in DiCaprio's world, the next big star could be watching this video right now.